Namaskar, welcome. Today we are starting the 9th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with the gratitude to the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We also pay our deep respects to our Guru Parampara, the lineage through which this knowledge is protected, preserved, transferred from generations. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Param Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and pass on this understanding with you. We'll start with the prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavakitamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the 9th Adhyaya is called Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya Yoga. And it starts with Shri Bhagavana Uvacha, how the Lord, the great Lord, speaks without any question from Arjuna, in contrast to the 8th Adhyaya, which starts with Arjuna's questions, where he asks 7 questions about some of the fundamental issues of life. Here, the subjects of this Adhyaya are Jnana. So initially, today our session will be mainly on the Jnana. There will be some aspect on the Karma, but predominantly then the later part of the Adhyaya is more about different aspects of devotion to the Lord, Bhakti. That is the predominant subject matter of this Adhyaya. As the second 6 Adhyayas from 7 to 12 are devoted towards the Tat Padartha Shodhana. That means we have to go deep into understanding what is this Paramatma Tattva, the Lord, what is Ishvara. Raj Vidya itself means this Atma Jnana, the Brahma Jnana or the Brahma Vidya, which is the ultimate goal of Sri Bhagavad Gita. It is the ultimate goal of our human existence. That is what Gitaji, our Upanishads, all our Vedas want to take us to. And this is Raja Guhya. It's a Guhya Jnana. It is a kind of a secretive knowledge. And Yoga means the way, this is one of the ways to connect to the divine. So this, how we can connect to the divine, to the Lord, with the help of Bhakti, with the help of Jnana, we can connect to the divine, and this is also, that's why it is called Yoga. So essentially, Jnana, Karma and Bhakti are the essential sadhana for Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana. This is what is the crux of the Upanishads and Gitaji, how it is also assimilated, this knowledge, and how it is put up in different adhyayas. It starts with Jnana, second adhyaya, then Karma Yoga from the second adhyaya, then again Jnana and Karma together, Karma Sannyasa. The 4th, 5th adhyaya, 6th adhyaya is a Dhyana Yoga, how we can assimilate this knowledge, how we can change the Viparit Sanskara. And from 7th adhyaya, it is all about Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Akshara Brahma Yoga and Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. So essentially, Jnana, Karma and Bhakti are the 3 sadhanas, and which will help us to reach to our Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, which is the ultimate goal essentially of the human existence. That is what our scriptures tell us, that this is where we have to reach, and these are the ways how we can reach to this ultimate goal. We start with the first shloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshamyan asuyave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajnatva Mokshase Shubha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Lord speaks. Now this is in present tense. Uvacha means the Lord is speaking actually. So it is that this is a Sanatana Updesha. Sanatana Gitaji is like, the Lord is always telling us to do this kind of a thing. It is not that it is a thing of the past, but it is ever present. That is the context of Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Idam means this knowledge, because God has already talked about this Atma Jnana right from 2nd Adhyaya, 3rd, 4th, 5th Adhyaya also. There is some Nirupana of the Jnana, Akarta Swarupa, Asanga. All these Atma Jnana already he has spoken. So this is not something which is not familiar to Arjuna. And from a perspective of all the Jiva, that is giving this Updesha to all of us, it means that this is not unfamiliar to any one of us, because we are all aware about our existence, and our existence is due to this tattva, this Atma Tattva, and that's why this is not, it is quite known to all of us. Two is a contrast to what is previously said. So Bhagavan in the previous Adhyaya has already talked about Kshara Tattva, Prakriti, Viveka, and now he is talking about Jnana again. So it is the contrast to what has been previously said, and this is a Guhyatamam. It's an ultimate secret. We'll come to that, why it is called Guhya, Raja Guhya, why it is called a Guhya Jnana, why it remains hidden like a treasure, even though it is with us, it is part of us, it is our own self, Swarupa, Atma Swarupa. Even then we don't realize it, we don't understand it, we don't look for it, we don't seek for it, we don't yearn for it. Why is it so? We'll come to that in the few next slides. Te Pravakshyami. Bhagavana is telling Arjuna, is pledging, is taking a pratigna that I'm going to tell you in details this Jnana. We also did that in the 7th Adhyaya. Also he said, Jnana Vijnana Sahitam, I'll tell you everything about this knowledge. Why he is going to tell Arjuna Anasuya way? Because Arjuna does not have Asuya, he is Anasuya. And that means that he is not wicked, he is eligible for this Atma Jnana. So very few people are eligible to obtain this Jnana. The Patra has to be proper, thorough, before we can actually imbibe, hold this Atma Jnana. And that is what it shows. And how is Lord going to talk? He says Jnana Vijnana Sahitam, means that I am going to tell you Jnana in such a way that it becomes easily assimilated in yourself. Vijnana means it gets assimilated, it becomes aparoksha, so that it becomes useful in our life, it can be useful in our day-to-day life. So that is what is Vijnana, the meaning which already we have seen in the 7th Adhyaya. Yajgnatva moksha se ashubhat, means whatever ashubha, after knowing Yajgnatva, by knowing which all the ashubhas, the unauspicious things in our life will be moksha se. Moksha se means we will be relieved of all this, will be delivered of all these sins, unauspicious things from our life. So that is the fruit or the phala of this Atma Jnana, and that is how Lord starts the 9th Adhyaya. So let us understand a few words. Guhyatamam, ultimate secret. Why it remains as a secret, even though it's part of us, we are there, because this subject matter, the Atma Jnana, is not something which is gross. It is not something that can be seen. It is a very subtle thing. It's a very sukshma tattva. And that's why, in spite of listening to it several times, in spite of reading about it several times, it becomes difficult for us to understand. If we read Gita ji on our own or Upanishads on our own, we won't understand kuch palle nahi padta hai, because there are a lot of things which are contradictory, seemingly contradictory things in these scriptures, and that's why it becomes difficult to understand. That's why it is called, it's like a Guhya Shastra. We need help of a guru, a learned person who can guide us, who can show us the meaning, the deeper meaning of what are the contexts of all this. The normal means and ways does not help here, because here when we look out for worldly knowledge, we use our mind, intellect to understand the senses, we use to Grahana, and then we keep all this information in our mind, we use our intellect to process this information, and that is how we get the knowledge of the worldly objects. But when it comes to Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana, it is different. It still cannot be understood by mind, intellect and our senses, because it is through which the senses, mind and the intellect work. So it is the Adhisthana, it is the fundamental cause of the working of these, and that's why it cannot be understood by mind, body and intellect. But in spite of that, these are the only sadhana that we have in our human life, and this Atma Jnana has to be obtained by Indriya, Mana and Buddhi. So that is the paradox here, how we can understand, and that's why we need a Shravana from a learned guru, Manana and Nididhyasana to assimilate this knowledge in us. It is with me, it is my own, but still I cannot see it, and the reason is because, as we have already discussed, there are several sukshma things. Our sanskaras are quite contradictory actually, and that's why to override this contradictory sanskara becomes difficult. We have to understand it thoroughly and then practice it abhyasa yogena, how we can gradually then start understanding the dots. And then finally, we see the connections between the dots, between the different things that God talks about in this in Bhagavad Gita. We can then start connecting the dots, and once all the dots are connected, the full picture becomes visible. That is a one picture, Aham Brahmasmi, that I am one with the divinity, I am no different. So that is where we have to reach. We have to start seeing the dots first. We have to start connecting a few dots by our sadhana and gradually go ahead, so that there is more clarity as we go ahead, and with the understanding we can connect more dots. He says, Arjuna, I am telling you because you are Anasuya way. Anasuya way means you are not wicked, you are eligible for this Atma Gnana. So there are some dosha or some of these doshas in us which does not allow us to imbibe this Atma Gnana. One is jealousy or irsha. Irsha or jealousy means that we cannot tolerate somebody else's progress, and we become unhappy when he or she becomes happy. So that is jealousy, which is also quite commonly seen in worldly life. And asuya, it's different than jealousy. Though in the Oxford Dictionary, if you see asuya means jealousy, in any of the English dictionaries, asuya means jealousy. But actually the meaning of asuya means that we see faults in others' good quality. So, दूसरे के गुण में दोष का दर्शन करना, that is asuya. So it's a little different from jealousy. We cannot see good in good things. So this asuya, it's one of the main hindrance or pratibandha of the sadhaka on his journey of progress. Does not allow him to progress further, because he starts seeing कि ये साधना कर रहा है, इसका ये है, उसका ये दोष है, इसका ये है. So we start seeing the the other side of the good things. In spite of somebody is going on a good path, we cannot see those good things. So no asuya or na asuya means anasuya, and anasuya vaha, it's a good quality which Arjuna has, and that's why God says that you are eligible for this Atma Gnana. So Atma Gnana eligibility for all seekers, anasuya is a very important eligibility for Atma Gnana. Yach gnatva moksha se ashubhat means by knowing which you will be delivered from all that is not auspicious, which is not unwell being, ashubha. And in the Shastra, ashubha means dukkha, mrityu and ajnana. These are the three most ashubha things which have been described in our Shastra. Dukkha, all types of misery, sorrow. Mrityu, death is ashubha, and ajnana, ignorance is also ashubha. So we need to deliver ourselves from all these three ashubha things. And this causes papas, because all these ajnana leads us to all these mada, moha, matsarya, jealousy, and all these sins or papa leads us to samsara. And nobody likes to, this kind of a life which is full of these miseries, sorrow, dukkha. And only by knowing our Atma Swarupa, which is Sat, Chit and Ananda, we can liberate ourselves from these ashubhat, from this shubha. And let's see how we can do it. So that these three, they are not of course parts, but they are the three Swarupa of our Atma Swarupa, the Sat Swarupa, the Chit Swarupa and the Ananda Swarupa. So Sat Swarupa essentially means Nitya. It's Trikala Abhadita, it is always there, it is not, there is no birth, there is no death, it's a Nitya Tattva. That is what our Swarupa is. And by knowing this Sat or Nitya Tattva, we liberate ourselves from the fear of death, because this is one of the most important fear for most of us, fear of diseases, fear of death. So only we can liberate completely from this is by knowing this Sat Tattva, that we are the Sat Tattva. Chit Tattva means this is the Gnana, Bhana, or the knowledge part of our own self, and we can liberate from ignorance by knowing that we are the Gnana Swarupa. So that is how we can liberate ourselves from Ajnana. And Ananda Swarupa is our own bliss self. We are bliss self ourselves. We don't need to rely on the outer objects to develop happiness or have bliss. And this liberates us from all the grief, all the dukkha of the outer world. So this is the way how we can, understanding the Sat, Chit and the Ananda, we can liberate ourselves from all the three Ashubha things, the dukkha, mrityu and the ajnana. Second shloka. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. So it is the Raja Vidya, it is the king of all the knowledge, because it's the best or the Shrestha of all the knowledge. And it is Raja Guhya, it is the best kept secret. And it is Pavitra. So Bhagavan is singing the glory of his Atma Jnana, the Mahima, which is very pious. It is a protector. It is Idam Uttamam. It is the best of all, because once we understand this Atma Jnana, there is nothing else to be known. That is what Upanishads tell us. It is the best because it is a basis, it is a fundamental of all the knowledge. Pratyaksha Avagamam means it can be experienced in person. We can ourselves experience this. It is not far away from us because we are existence. We can feel our awareness. We always can feel this experience or this tattva in us, because we are the chit. We know that we are always existing. Dharmam, because it is related to dharma, righteousness. Susukam kartum, it is easily attainable. And it is avyayam, it is eternal, it is changeless. There is no change, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no avyaya, and it is easily attainable. So let us understand some of these meanings that God is telling us. Raja Vidya, king of all knowledges, means because it is a different Vidya, it is a fundamental knowledge behind all the worldly knowledge, and this Vidya is always helpful to us. Even in our day-to-day life, if we have this Vidya, it will definitely make us more peaceful, calm, cool, more proactive, more, our decision-making power will be better. The way we can look at the things will be from a very different perspective. So this Vidya will be very helpful to us in our day-to-day life. And it is the basis and the master of all the knowledge. Whatever knowledge that we try in acquiring in this our world, may it be physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, or anyway, information technology or whatever. But this is the master of all the knowledge. And it relieves us from all the misery, sorrow and death, because it is a basic knowledge, the fundamental knowledge. And that is how we already have seen in the previous slide, how it relieves us from all this Ashubha, Dukkha and Mrityu. And the benefits of these Atma Jnana are Ananta, they are Nitya, means that they are always there. Whereas the Sansara Vidya, whatever we understand in our worldly knowledge, is all Anitya, because today it may be there, tomorrow this knowledge gets obsolete, we have to again get more domain knowledge. So there is no end to it. It always makes us feel incomplete. Whereas when we get this Atma Jnana, it makes us feel paripurna, complete, because it's a complete knowledge. And this knowledge does not change. It does not, it is Sanatana, it is the same always, it is Nitya, and it is not hidden. And that's why it is called Raja. And it gives us ultimate peace, satisfaction, trupti once we achieve this knowledge. And it is Raja Guhya, best kept secret, because everybody does not understand, know it. Very few people are able to go on this path and achieve this knowledge. And this is not a journey where we have to go outside and obtain or achieve something. It is a journey where we have to go deep inside us, antarmukh hona hai, because our nature is to go towards outside, bahirmukta. And that's why this knowledge remains guhya. It does not become easily assimilated or known to us. And of course, we need a guru, we need the help of scripture, shastra and the lineage, parampara. Guru who has learned this knowledge through this parampara. And there are many contradictory words used in Upanishads. One of these is Taddure Tadvantike. This is a sentence from words of Ishavasya Upanishad, which says that this knowledge is very far, but yet it is very close to us, because how we see it, that is important. There is somebody who is eligible for it. Atma Jnana may not be that difficult for somebody whose Shuddhi has already been achieved. But for someone who is all in this world, samsara, moha, karma and bhoga, for them to look and to even imagine about Atma Jnana or the Sukshma Tattva becomes very difficult. So there are the three ways, or yoga or the upaya, to achieve this: karma, bhakti and jnana. These are the main three ways. The jnana sadhana, especially the karma and the bhakti, are the most important means for antakarana shuddhi, because that gives us the eligibility for the Atma Jnana. Without shuddhi, we cannot have jnana. So the first step of the sadhana is shuddhi, and this itself takes a long time. And karma and bhakti are the two most important tools for these shuddhi. And then once shuddhi happens, then the jnana sadhana starts, and the jnana sadhana involves the three upaya or the yoga: shravana, that is the guru mukha, from the guru's mouth, vedanta vakya shravana; then manana, because there will be lots of doubts, we have to create We have to take care of these sanshaya by tarka, by logic, by understanding, by how our experience and the shastra, how they correlate in our mind, and that is what we have to clear. And finally, nididhyasana, it is the Vedantic meditation where all the viparyaya, the viparit sanskara, have to be cleared by repeated practice of meditation of the Vedanta principles and the tattva. So these are the ways we have to attain to the divine. Again, Lord Krishna says that it is pavitram, it is very pious because it destroys all the sins, all the impurities. It is uttamam, it is the best of all because there is nothing like it. It is a pratyaksha avagaman because it can be experienced by us. Sakshat aparoksha anubhuti because we have the experience. It is the cause for all the experiences that we have in our life. That's why it's the fundamental basis of all the experiences. It is related to dharma because in achieving which dharma is always preserved, and scriptures tell us to do this. So it is the dharma vihita or veda vihita, and that's why it is related to dharma. It is a susukham kartum, it is easily attainable if there is eligibility, if there is a shuddhi, if there is a constant practice, lifelong practice, the right path, the right ways to achieve this, and that we are on the right path, then it is not very difficult to attain. And avyayam, it is eternal, changeless. Brahma and Brahma Jnana, both are nitya, both are eternal. Brahma is sarvavyapaka, shuddha, and the Brahma Jnana is not sarvavyapaka, of course, but it can only be imbibed in the antakarana of the jnanis, and that is what is our goal, because Brahma is already there, but the Brahma Jnana is something that we have to create by the Brahmakara Vritti, and it is a Vritti Janya Jnana, which then once it is established, then it becomes nitya, or it becomes eternal. The third shloka, Ashraddhadhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Sansara Vartmani. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna talks about Shraddha. He says what is the importance of Shraddha on the spiritual path. And he says what happens to people who don't have this kind of faith on this spiritual path, because it's a new path, because it's a very different path. Whatever we have always is on the outer world. We have never looked deep within us, and that's why this path is a different path. That we have to change our vision, our perception, and our thinking. A lot of things have to be changed. Our personality has to change to go on to this path, and that's why Shraddha is very important initially, because it is a sukshma journey. So he says, "O Parantapa, O the great warrior, you have not just won over a lot of external enemies, but you have won over your inner enemies, because most of the enemies are inside us. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all these Shadaripu are our major enemies because they create a lot of problems for us." It says, Ashraddha Dana Purusha, those people who do not have faith, what happens to them? Asya Dharmasya, in the scriptures, in the Shastra, in the Tattva, in the Jnana that is Pradipadit, or it is described in the Shastra, Aprapya Mam Nivartante, cannot attain me. They cannot attain me. Why? But what do they attain? They attain this world. Mrityu Sansara Vartmani. They attain this world, they keep rotating, they keep moving here and there in this mortal world. They have Janma, Mrityu, Sansara Chakra, they keep rotating, and they are not able to get out of these, and they are bonded. They are, there is a bandhana with this, because they don't have Shraddha in this kind of scriptures and what is said in our scriptures. So this is what happens to people who don't have faith, and that's why faith is important. Though faith is not to be equated with blind faith. There are different lines here in Vedanta Shastra. The beauty of the Vedanta is that not just you need faith, but inquiry and questions are also welcome. So it's not that whatever is said you have to accept. You have to think from your own, we have to think from our own mind to get rid of all the sanshaya, all the doubts that arise in our mind. And only with this logic and the tarka and the examples, some beautiful examples are given in Vedanta Shastra, and through which we have to understand what the Shastras or the scriptures try to tell us. Initially, I'm sure it will be very difficult, it is very difficult, but later on, as we keep going on this, we keep hammering and these sanskaras on us, then gradually we try and understand what the Shastra is trying to tell us. So first, acceptance of the presence of these divinity is important, only then we will try to attain them. So initial, for the acceptance of the presence, we need to have faith on the spiritual path. So Shraddha is very important on this journey because it's an unknown path. We have not known what is Atma, Paramatma, Brahma. All these are unheard, unknown, more esoteric for us. But that kind of a faith that there has to be a creator behind this very beautiful creation. Not just what we can see, but beyond what my mind can fathom in the space. So many planets, galaxies, universe, everything working with a perfect order. And there has to be some kind of a creator behind this entire beautiful creation which is going on. Even our own mind, our own body, our own human body, so many muscles working in coordination, the mind, the heart, the brain, the way these organs are working, it's a brilliant construction of architecture, and there has to be a creator. But this path is opposite to our routine behavior, and that's why we need to have Shraddha. What we believe is what we normally see, and that only we believe it is a reality. But we know that whatever we see is not reality. We can see that the sun is rising, that is our experience, but the reality is sun does not move. The world is moving around the sun. So we see that the earth is flat, but earth is not flat, it is actually round. So essentially what we are seeing is not the reality, and that's why we need to have faith on what our scriptures try to tell us. We need to have faith that there is a Sukshma Jagat, something which is beyond what is seen. There is some power, there is some energy which controls everything that is seen. So behind this, drama of the scene, there is an unseen power or unseen energy working. And this kind of a faith or Shraddha we must have on this path. And we believe that we can achieve everything with karma, with actions, with our activity. We can achieve everything because we have known that what we do work, we get some money, we get some wealth, we get something. So this kind of a possession by karma is become our habit. And that's why we believe that the more I achieve, more I will gain. But here on this path, the spiritual path, it is a path of giving up. We have to give up a lot of things to reach to our supreme goal or our essential existence. To reach to this existence, we have to give up a lot of layers that we have. And these are all the layers of ignorance that Sharira, Deha Buddhi, Mana Buddhi, Prana Buddhi, Indriya Buddhi, all this Vishaya Buddhi, Vishaya Sakti, Mamakar, Ahamkar, all this we have to give up on this path. And that's why this is a different path, and that's why faith is essential. We have to accept the presence, that is where our faith is needed, and we need to have an open mind to search for the truth, and we need to have faith in our Guru, in our Shastra, in Vedanta and Gitaji, that even though I am not able to understand today whatever is said in the Shastra, but still I must try and understand what is being said. I must have that faith that whatever is said is been going on, stood the test of time for more than 10,000 years, and that's why that is a fact. No other thing but the fact can remain steady for so many years. And that's why I need to make my efforts to understand what is being said in our scriptures. So this is the kind of faith that is necessary on this path. So from the 4th shloka, Lord Krishna starts his Atmajnana Uddesha. He says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. So here he is starting the Uddesha with description of his omnipresent, unseen, avyakta, nirgun, nirakar swarupa, fundamental swarupa or the adhisthana swarupa of the Lord. It says, Maya idam tatam sarvam jagata. All these that you see, everything, whatever is seen, unseen, everything is pervaded by me. It says, I am everywhere. That is what it says. And how? It says, by my unmanifest form. And that's why, Arjuna, you cannot see me. Avyakta murtina. This is my unmanifest form. Matsthani sarva bhutani. It says, all beings are within me. All the beings are within me. Matsthani sarva bhutani matsthani. They are all within me. Chateshu ahamna avastita. But I am not in them, it says. So this is something that we need to understand, because there is some process of Vedanta inquiry which goes, because in the next shloka, in the 5th shloka, Lord Krishna starts with saying completely opposite. He says, Nacha matsthani bhutani, because all the beings are not within me. So here he says, Matstani sarva bhutani, all beings are within me. So we need to understand what he's trying to say. And here we need the help of a guru. Maya sarva idam tatam jagata, all is pervaded by me because by my unmanifest form. Because God will tell us, I am everywhere. But we tell him, God, you say you are everywhere, but I can't see you. How is it possible that you are everywhere? And God says, you can still not see me because I am in the Avyakta Swarupa. I am in the Avyakta Murtina. I am in my unmanifest form, Nirgun Nirakar Swarupa. And this is where we have to try and understand how we can see him in this way. That is all is what is our sadhana. So God is telling us that I am behind all the names and forms that you are seeing. I am everywhere in all the names and forms that you are seeing as its Adhisthana. So don't just see this world, don't just see the names, forms, don't just see the Jagata, but also see me, Jagdisha, hidden there. It's behind all the names and forms. And Lord, he says, he's everywhere in the world. We listen to this, the Kan Kan mein Krishna hai, but how we don't understand, and this is where our scriptures help us to understand. And that is only possible by understanding the Chaitanya Swarupa, Satchit and the Ananda, which is the Adhisthana Swarupa. It's a Nirgun, Nirakar, Brahma Swarupa, which is the Adhisthana means that provides a Satta and Spurti to all these names and objects that we see. All the name and objects, the living beings, the non-living beings, everything are manifested because of this Tattva, because of this Sat, Chit and the Ananda Tattva in it. And this, in the objects, it is in the form of Asti, Bhati and Priya. So the existence itself is, because of the existence is there is that Tattva. Because of the Tattva, there is the existence. And then we know this existence, the knowledge of this existence, that is the Chit part. The Sat part is the existence, the Chit is the knowledge of the existence, and Anand is the Swarupa, is the bliss. In the objects, we can see this as, Upyogita, or some kind of a beneficial role of these objects. So this is how we can see that it will give me some happiness, and that is my Sukha Swarupa or the Ananda Swarupa. So this is how we can understand. The existence of this world is due to this Avyakta Swarupa, and Ishavasya Midam Sarvam is how the Ishavasya Upanishad starts. This also means that I am hidden in all this that you can see. Ishavasya Midam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagata. I am there in each and every aspect of the world, and that is how the Ishavasya Upanishad says. So that's the same message that Lord Krishna is giving here. And then in the 5th shloka he says, Nacha matstani bhutani pashyame yoga maishwaram bhuta brunna cha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavana. So he says, Nacha matstani bhutani, all beings are not in me. In the 4th shloka he says, all beings are within me, matstani sarva bhutani. And here he says, Nacha matstani bhutani, all beings are not in me. Pashyame yoga maishwaram. See Arjuna, see my glory, you see my yoga, see my glory, see my solutions that I am providing, but you see that they are not in me. Aham bhuta bhavana means I am the originator, I am the cause of the existence, the birth of all the beings. They arise, bhuta bhavana, they arise because of me. Mama atma bhuta brunna. Bhuta brunna means I sustain every being. They are all nurtured by me. I am the sustainer. Nacha aham na bhutasta, but still I am not in all the beings. Though I produce them, though I maintain them, but they are not in me, I am not in them. So that is what Lord Krishna tells us. And it's important to understand what he's trying to say, because this, to a normal mind like us, looks very, very contradictory, doesn't make any sense to us, but we have to understand what is this. So this is explained by this process of Vedanta inquiry, which is called Adhyaropa Apavada process. So here, this is essentially a process that everything is used to take us, to transcend us from what we are seeing, the seen reality to the unseen reality. Seen, we understand that this is a reality. Vedanta says this is an illusion, it is a pratiti matra, this jagata. But of course, to us, normal people, it appears like a reality, though it is not. So from this Traigunya Jagata, we have to go to the Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. That was the message of Lord Krishna in the 2nd Adhyaya. Arjuna, transcend this seen world, and how we can do this. So that is this inquiry called Adhyaropa Apavada. There are many such processes in Vedanta. So Adhyaropa means to apply, to put, and then Apvada means to remove. So here that's what Lord Krishna has done. He says, Matsthani sarva bhutani, all beings are within me. And then he says, no, all beings are not in me, they are somewhere else. So that's what he has done, Adhyaropa and Apvada. This is similar to applying soap on the cloth and then washing it away. This is a simple thing that we do, but this is how we can understand what is this Adhyaropa and what is this Apvada process. So it is basically applying that soap of, cleansing for the Ajnana and then washing it away. So the first step, Adhyaropa accepts the normal experience of the Jiva, of what we see, what we understand, that is accepted, and then finally second Apvada removes that and then states the fundamental truth or the fact. So Paramatma is the material cause of the creation, but even though he is a Karta of the creation, he is a Karta Swarupa and a Sangha Swarupa. So that is what is understood by Adhyaropa and Apvada. So Paramatma, though he is a Karta of this creation, he creates this creation, but still by Swarupa he is a Karta, he is a Sangha. There is no connection between the creation and the creator. It's a Asanga. So there is no such connection. And that is what this tries to explain us. So first is the Adhyaropa, second is the Apvada. So in the first shloka, fourth shloka, he says, Matsthani sarva bhutani, all beings are within me, that is Adhyaropa, and Nacha Matsthani is all beings are not in me, that is Apvada. And essentially this is the Drashti Bheda, the difference in vision between the Ajnani and the Jnani. Essentially, for an Ajnani, he will, there are many examples given in Vedanta. One of them, some beautiful examples are the waves and the ocean. Ajnani will be seeing the waves, which are of course the form and the name of the ocean. So that is how we understand the ocean. There is a lot of foam, there are, water going up and down, the waves coming and going. So that is what we enjoy in the ocean, right? But the Jnani will see the ocean as water, because water is the main fundamental thing of the name, form, the adhisthana, adhyastha, everything. So ocean is essentially made up of water. So similarly, a jeweler, when we take a jewelry to the jeweler, he will not see the shapes and the forms, but he will see whether the gold is real, whether it is 99 or 95% or whatever it is, whether it is a fake or true. That is how the jeweler looks at the ornament. So that is another example which is given to explain this. The third is the Ghatakash and the Mahakash. In the pots, we see that just because of the name and the form, we see that there is a space inside the pot and the space outside the pot. But essentially, the pot is one. There is no space. It is all because of the form and the name, but essentially it is all the material part of the existence. So the process is to remove the impurities of the Jnana, and that is the process through which we apply the soap, remove the impurities, and we remove the Jnana. So, and then go to the Jnana Swarupa of Paramatma. And finally, with the same, we understand that my own Swarupa is also the same as the Paramatma, and we can reach to that oneness between our own self and the divinity of the Lord. Yatha kasha stito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna describes his own Adhisthana Asanga Swarupa and gives an example of the sky and the the wind. So Akasha and Vayu, that Rashtanta diya hai, and he has explained how, whatever he has said in the previous word, that he is still the Karta but still Akarta, he is still Asanga. So this has been explained here better. Just as Yatha Akasha Stita Vayu Mahan, just as there is an abundant wind blowing within the sky, but it is all enveloped within the sky. The sky, as we know, is ever expansive, Sarva Vyapak, it is everywhere. And the wind also blows everywhere. It is, everywhere it is there. Nitya Sarvatra Go, it always blows everywhere. Tatha Sarvani Bhutani, similarly, all the beings are Matsthani, they are within me. He says, Iti Upadharaya, means you firmly understand, firmly decide, take a firm resolution that just like the wind remains within the sky, all enveloping sky. Similarly, all the beings are within me, but still I don't have any sangha or connection between this. Though I have produced them, but I am still not connected to them. I am still a karta, a sangha swarupa. That is what Lord Krishna describes here is his fundamental Atma Swarupa. Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punasthani kalpadau visrujamyaham. In this shloka, Lord Krishna talks about the sansara, utpatti, laya, how that happens. He says, O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, kalpakshaye. Kalpakshaye means at the end of the universe, sarva bhutani mamikam prakritim yanti. All the beings dissolve into my prakriti. My prakriti essentially means maya, because Brahma is nirguna, and nirguna cannot produce the saguna or the sakar creation that we see. So from the unseen, how the seen world has come, that Brahma has taken help of Maya. Maya is a Shakti which is at the command of the Lord of Brahma, and with this help, Bhagavan has taken this help of this Maya Shakti, and that is where Lord Krishna says here at the end of Kalpakshaya, all the beings they dissolve into my Maya Prakriti. And he says Kalpa Adau, at the beginning of the universe, Visrujami aham punah tani, means I create all the beings again and again. So here there is a discrepancy. He says during Kalpakshaya all the beings dissolve into Prakriti or Maya, and then at the beginning of the universe I create all the beings again. So is it that there are two different places where origin and destruction or dissolution happens? No, both are the same. We have to understand that Brahma itself is nirguna and it takes help of Maya. So Brahma plus Maya becomes Ishvara. So with the help of these Maya Shakti, it becomes Ishvara. And Ishvara is from where the Srushti, with the help of Maya Shakti, Srushti, Utpatti, Pralaya, all these starts from the Ishvara. So with this help of this Maya Shakti, the Srushti develops, and that is what here Lord Krishna is saying. So it is through the Maya that creation happens, and it is in the Maya or Ishvara Shakti that the creation dissolves at the end of the universe. So it does not happen in Brahma. So Lord Krishna is not talking from his Brahma Swarupa, but his Ishvara Swarupa is talking about this Srushti creation. Prakrutim swamabhashtabhya visrujami punah punaha bhutagrama mimam kritsnam avasham prakrutir vashat. So here Lord Krishna talks about what is the difference between the Ishvara and the Jiva as far as the Maya and the Avidya is concerned. He says Maya is under the control of Brahma, Brahma Shraya Maya, as we tell it, Prakrutin Swam Avashtabhya. So he says, and by controlling the Maya, Maya Shakti is Ishvara's own Shakti and it is under control of Brahma. So by controlling this Visrujami Punah Punah, he says I create again and again. Whenever Ishwar only Bhagavan needs a sankalpa, God only needs a sankalpa or some thought in his mind that he wants to create a universe, and he has immense and tremendous Sarva Shaktiman, that he can do whatever he wishes to do. Bhutagramam imam kratsnam, all the living beings, the Jiva, all the living beings, avasham prakrutir vasha, they are all without their control. They have no control, they are avasha, they just go around with this Maya and the Moha. They have to go around, and that is the main difference between the Jiva and the Ishvara. Ishvara is Swatantra because Maya is at the command of the Ishvara, but Jiva is Paratantra, he is Avasha. He is at the disposal of the Maya. Maya keeps making him dance from here to there because he does not have control. Even if in our own life, if we think about so many issues, so many things, everywhere, every time, every moment, every second, we are avasha, we are helpless because we have to depend on somebody else. Even for a morsel of to eat, even for to go somewhere, we have to depend on the vehicle. Somewhere we want to fly, we have to depend on the flights, the tickets, the pilot, whether the aircraft, whether it will take us. And for every little thing, we do every work, the outcomes is dependent on so many factors. It is not that we have done it and we get a particular outcome. So for everything, for every little thing, we are all helpless. We are at the disposal of the Maya. and the Maya, Moha, and all these keep moving us in this world, keep from one janam to another. न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनं वसक्तं तेषु कर्मसु. Here Lord is saying that even though I create this creation, I am not affected by the karma phala, because I am akarta swarupa. I am not, he is not affected by any of these. There is nothing for him to achieve, nothing for him to lose. He says, "Oh Dhananjaya, you are the creator of wealth, and wealth, we understand this as money, as dhana, but wealth or vitta, there are different. Vishaya vitta is the money or the dhan, but there are some other better dhana. There is the virtue, the punya is considered to be a better dhana, because vitta or money will only be used for our sensual pleasures in this world. But punya can be used in any of the worlds, any of the lokas, wherever we go, we can use this as a currency. But the highest form of vitta, the highest form of wealth is the jnana, the knowledge, because this will liberate us from all this chakra, all these avagamana, and it will completely free us and liberate us. And that's why jnana is the highest form of wealth. That's what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, that you have already earned many other virtues, but the best of all is the jnana. Nachamam tani karmani nibadhanti. All these actions that I do, I create all these beings, dissolve them, sustain them. I do it, but they don't bind me in any way, because this karma don't bind me. We have already seen that Bhagavan Vishnu is the maintainer or the sustainer of the universe. He is in a chir nidra, in the shayana, in his dhama. It doesn't need to do anything. Everything happens sahaj matra, effortlessly. Everything happens because the system is all set, and that's why these actions don't bind the Lord. Why doesn't they don't bind the Lord? Lord says himself that udasinavat asinam, because I've risen above them. I'm sitting at a different level. I'm sitting higher up, and that's why these don't affect me. These don't bind me. These actions don't bind me. And how can he sit above? What is that? What he says? Because teshu karmasu asaktam. Because I'm completely unattached in all my actions, and that's why I can remain udasina. I can rise above these actions because I don't have raga dvesha, and that's why these karma don't bind me. And this is what is the Lord's position. Obviously, we know that Lord himself is the full of knowledge, Purna Gnan, and he is Akarta Swarupa, Asanga Swarupa. He does not have any attachments, neither he is attached, neither he is bonded. So Udasinavat Asinam means I have risen above Teshu Karmasu Asaktam, because I am unattached. And what is he above? He is above Raga Dvesha, above any of these strong likes and dislikes from this Dandvatmaka Jagata. From this dual world, we have a lot of likes, dislikes. We like certain people, we like certain objects, we like some food, we don't like certain vegetables, some fruits, we hate them. We hate some people, we hate a lot of objects. So many of us have so many strong likes and dislikes, and this makes us attached to a lot of things and this creates our sansara. God does not take any sides because he is rising above to everyone. Udasina means is nishpakshpata, like a judge. He is seeing both the sides and he will give a judgment, but he is not onto one side. He does not get involved in one side because he is steadfast. Lord is steadfast in knowledge. And this is the difference between God's and Jiva's karma, because Jiva works with the raga dvesha. He always takes sides, he always analyzes, he is judgmental, and he takes sides, and because he is not steadfast in knowledge, there is ajnana. And Jiva is helpless, avasha, he moves like a pendulum from one end to the other in this world, and because there are a lot of things that he cannot do much about. And this is a cause for bondage. All this is because of asakti, attachment to this world, to its objects, to persons. And asakti comes in two forms in karma. And most of our asakti is because of our karma. And karma causes asakti in two main ways. One is the asakti while we are doing the karma. The asakti is towards the kartrutva. Kartrutva means our aham, our ego, our bond of our identity. And we feel that, oh, I have done this, and we feel proud about having done something. But we don't understand that there are so many factors which has allowed us to do this. So I feel that I have done it, but I have done it because of several other factors, and we don't see this, and that's why we feel proud about our kartrutva, and that binds us to our actions. The second reason for asakti is phalasakti, the karma phala, because we are all asakta or attached towards a particular karma phala, that when I do this karma, I must obtain this result. And this kind of a karma phala is because I want to do bhoga, I want to enjoy, I want to be happy, I want to celebrate, I want to, bhog karna hai, if I do this, then I'll get this and I'll enjoy and I'll be happy. So that's how we eat certain food, we try to do whatever we want to do in our life, and this attaches us to the phala asakti, and to the bhoga essentially, and this is another form of asakti which is very important. If we relieve this by Ishwararpana Bhavana, that is what is Karma Yoga ultimately, and Kartrutva also we have to relieve, that is also Karma Yoga. That is the only way to glorify ourselves. But Krishna, on the other hand, is Purna Jnana, is complete in knowledge, Paripurna, and that's what he is teaching in Gitaji, that this is his Swarupa. He is teaching us to that so that we can understand that Swarupa of our own self, which is the same as that of the Lord. And this is the knowledge, Atma Jnana, or this Brahma Jnana is the only knowledge which leads us from bondage to the freedom, because it will relieve us from all these asaktis. It will make us anasakta by vairagya. It will, create, it will open up all these bondages or the chains which are also pratiti matra, which are also illusionary bondages. We are not bonded actually, but we feel that we are bonded by this ignorance because we don't know our true inner self, our aham. Maya tyakshena prakrutihi suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. So here Lord describes how he can remain udasina after creating this creation, and he says Maya adhyakshena prakrutihi suyate. So in my presence means he is talking from this Nirvikar Swarupa, Nirakar Swarupa, the Sakshi Chaitanya. Maya creates the Sachara, Achara, Jagata. This entire world, Chara, Achara, Jagata, that means the living and the dead, or the Jad and the Chetana, Jagata, the Triguna-atmika, Jagata, the three guna. And this is created by the Maya, but Maya is also Brahmashraya. Maya is ashrit to Brahma. It is surrendered to the Brahma because it is under control of the Brahma. And Lord here says that it is only because of my presence, it is my Sakshi, Chaitanya, that everything is created, all this world comes into existence. Hetuna anena, for this reason only, Jagata aparivartate. Everything in this world keeps moving, changing, everything works. All the beings work, they can all do their work, all the non-living things give that usefulness, ability to everything works because of this, the presence of this Chaitanya or the Sakshi. So this is where Lord gives us this Jada Chetana Viveka, that how Chetana is Sakshi in the individual self, in the Sarvavyapak Brahma, and through which this Sakshi Chaitanya, Maya, or the Jiva is able to work or able to do everything, all the karma are done, and that's how, by understanding the Sakshi, Akarta Chaitanya, we can remain Udasina, we can remain separate from this, and we can see this observant of our own self. So the man behind the machine is also very important, the Chetan behind the Jada. Even in this body, it is said that the body, the mind, the Indriya, Mana, Sharira, everything is Jada. Only because of the Chaitanya, the Atma Chaitanya, we become full of life. And once that life energy does not reflect in this Antakarana, the body becomes dead. The body is dead and we feel that we are no more. So this is the Chetan behind the Jada, which is important. So karma happens in the Anatma space. Karma happens in the space where we think about doing some karma through our mind, intellect, and then we actually do the karma through our karmendriyas and our hands, feet and the other organs. So this is how karma happens. But it is only happens because of the presence, the Sakshi of the Chaitanya. Only because of the presence that karma happens. And this Sakshi Chaitanya is a karma. It itself, its Swarupa is not, there is no karma inside the Swarupa. But just because of the presence of this Sakshi, it happens, and there is no relationship between the Jada and the Chetana. The next shloka, Lord Krishna says, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So here he talks about the Mudha Purusha. The Mood is the ignorant person who does not understand the God or the Lord in his true form. So he says, Avajananti mam mudha. Those ignorant people, they don't know me in reality. Manushim tanum ashritam. And they believe that I am only this human form, the Saguna Sakar Swarupa that we see and call him the Krishna or the Rama or the Shiva or the Christ or any other names of the Lord. So those are the people who are ignorant, who believe that God is only limited to this body. He has a birth, he has a death, and these people don't know my real self. That is what Lord himself says. Lord Krishna is telling here. Param bhavam ajananto. They don't know my real self, my param bhava. What is that param bhava? He says, Mama bhuta maheshwaram. I am the Lord of all the beings. They don't know me as this Ishvara Tattva. And the root cause of these mood people is the moha. And this moha is due to ajnana of our real self. And that is what we have to believe to achieve this understanding, the right kind of understanding. And what is the understanding of these Muda people? That's what Lord Krishna tells us here. Mogha sha mogha karmano mogha gnana vichetasaha rakshasim masurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. So they are mogha asha. These people have useless desires about worldly objects. They keep moving around here, achieving something, wanting something, constantly having desires. Moga. Moga means vyartha, useless desires. Moga karmana. They keep doing actions which are selfish, just to fulfill their own stomach, to earn money and just to use it, to do bhoga, to enjoy the sensual pleasures. That is what their life is all about. Moga karmana. Moga gnana. Their knowledge is also useless, their understanding is also useless, because they understand, they believe that the outer object, the Vishaya, is going to give them the Sukha, happiness, and that's why they go yearning for this happiness in this outer world, but that is not where they get the eternal happiness. Vichetasaha. They act without proper thoughts, they don't have viveka, they don't discriminate, they don't think, they don't have proper understanding, but they are impulsive, they just keep moving here and there. They have raksashim vritti. They are rude and crude. They don't have any daya towards other beings. They are, they want to overpower others. They want to be dominant on others. Asurim vritti. Asurim means they are involved in only sensual pleasures, on the bhoga. That is asuri vritti. And mohimin cha eva prakritim ashritaha. So they are essentially surrendered to the maya, which leads to delusion, the moha, and this is the root cause of all the bondages and the bandhana. So this is what Lord Krishna becomes very harsh on these Muda people, these people who are selfish, who are senseless. They just go around in this world without thinking of anything. And he says that these people are all surrendered to Maya. They have no thinking of their own. They don't want to see that there is something else apart from what they are seeing in this world, and that's why. And to get away from Maya, already Lord Krishna has told us in the previous Adhyaya that Maya metam tarantite mam ashtanum mam ashritaha means if you want to get away from Maya, mama Maya duratyaya, and it is very difficult to overcome, but only with taking the shelter of the Lord. Maya metam tarantite. One who takes the shelter of the Lord, he can only get away or get relieved from Maya. That is the only way. We have taken the example of the fisherman's net, how the fishes which are at the feet of the fishermen, they get, they get away from this, getting caught in this net of Maya, Ajnana, ignorance. So that is what is the 12th shloka. The 13th shloka, Lord Krishna talks now more about the the Daivi Sampatti. On the other hand, people who are not Muda, but they are having Daivi Sampatti, they are Mahatmana, they have the faith, they have the Shraddha, they have the desire, the Jignasa to understand, to know what is there behind this world. They have the Viveka, the right intellect, the right questions they are asking, and they want to understand what is there, the root cause of this world, what is that tattva, what is that energy, what is that power which controls this world where we are all working, we are all, avasha, we are helpless. And two partha mahatmanaka. Two means this is a pakshantara. We see in the other side. Previously he showed the mood purusha, how they are moga jnana, moga karmana, moga asha. Now he says, oh Arjuna, see here, these are the great men, the mahatmana, who are daivim prakriti mashritaha, those who surrender to good values, the daivi sampatti, shama adi shat sampatti. Lord Krishna is going to tell us more in details about these daivi sampatti in the 16th adhyaya. And it says, Bhajanti mam ananya manasaha, who worships me with a single pointed devotion, and Gnatva Bhutadim Avyayam, and knows me as the source of all beings and as the eternal Lord of everyone. So this is how, if we try to see this, he is showing us the way of attaining the divine by, good values. We should try to imbibe good values in us and devote to the Lord, worship the Lord with a single point devotion, and not just, devoting without understanding, but with the correct understanding. What is the true nature of the Lord? He is the source of all the beings. He is the Ishvara, he is the Abhinna, Upadana, and a Nimitta Karana of this Sansara, of this Jagata. And he is the Nitya Avyaya Tattva. He is the Brahma Tattva, Sarvavyapaka, Shuddha, Swachha Tattva. That is the understanding with which we have to. So in the next session, the next shlokas are devoted towards his devotion. This is a beautiful Bhakti Yoga, where by different aspects of devotion, how Satata Kirtayan, he says how we can connect to the divine by doing different types of devotion and bhakti he has shown. And he is also describing his different nature of the Lord and different swarupa, how we can think about the Lord, we can anusmara, remember, smarana the Lord in different swarupas, and then how we can connect with the Lord, with the divinity itself. So that will be the second session of this 9th adhyaya. We come to the end of the first session of the 9th adhyaya. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om